Hello, I'm Emmeline.
And I'm Kindy.
And welcome to Stuff with Moms, a podcast about shows, stories, and enjoying life. So, Kindy, how was your week?
Busy. It was very busy. I got a lot of new clients that I'm trying to wrap my brain around. And so it was very busy. That was my main focus. So by the time the day that we record rolled around, I asked for an extension. Yeah. Let's do this another time, rain check kind of a thing. So yeah, fun stuff. How was your week?
It was great. We had our ward party for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, our Christmas party. And they had this beautiful dinner, and people could sign up for bringing a centerpiece in for the tables. And there were some really lovely ones. And then the young kids, the primary age kids, performed a nativity. And it was so cute. They had the littlest kids be the sheep. And then Clark did. He was a shepherd. And then they had an angel and Mary and Joseph. And then like a little baby doll as baby Jesus. And there was a donkey. And then the wise men. And it was just really cute. And the whole time Clark, you know, they're little kids and they're just standing there because they had the adults do like all the talking and the kids just kind of entered when their part came along and stuff. But
so
Clark
he was probably bored.
But he had a shepherd's staff, a crook, and it was one that you could take apart because they store them in like a little box, right? So it was like 5 pieces, and it was like hanging over some of the sheep's heads. I'm like, he's gonna hit somebody in the head, and then he was like taking it apart and putting it back together and putting it in between his legs, and I was just like, oh, he got really close to whacking Mary in the face, and oh man, no. I was just going, please don't let him hit anybody, please. And then at the end, Kyle and I asked him, we're like, so how'd you like being in the nativity? He was like, it was great. I took apart my staff 8 times. I'm like, oh, good.
Yeah, everybody saw.
Yeah. Lorenzo watched the nativity from the back. Lately, he's been doing wall sits a lot. And so he did the whole nativity while it was being performed. He was doing a wall sit on the back wall.
Oh my gosh. Where you like sit in a imaginary chair against the wall exercise?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He was like, afterwards, he came and sat down. And I was like, where have you been? He was like, I was just doing a wall sit. And I was like, well, it's time to, because we wrapped up after that. And I was like, well, it's time to like start putting stuff away. He's like, I can't move. I need to take a break for a minute. It was funny.
Why does he do it?
Just to exercise, I guess. I don't know. Maybe he's trying to build up his muscle.
There you go. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
All right. So you have our obscure holiday.
I do. And it is Monday, December 18th is Answer the Telephone Like Buddy the Elf Day.
That's going to be awesome.
I usually pick them because I think that they're like funny sounding holidays.
Yeah.
And so I picked this one because it sounded really funny. So do you remember what he says when he answers the phone?
I don't.
Okay. So the line is, Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color? So the challenge is, on Monday, December 18th, that's how you answer the phone if anybody calls you the whole day. So That's how you celebrate the holiday. But if you don't want to do that, you can watch the movie or dress like a Christmas elf. So anyway, it's just a fun little holiday that made me laugh. I usually get a lot of phone calls on that day because it happens to be my birthday. Yeah. So I'm going to try and remember and do it.
I hope so. You're going to get a lot of phone calls. It's going to be great. Yeah. You'll have to give us a status update on how that went.
Okay. All right. You have word of the week?
The word is Quixotic. Quixotic.
Ooh, that looks like it would be a really good Scrabble word for all you Scrabble people. That will get you lots of points.
Quixotic, yeah.
All right, so Quixotic means when something is imported hastily.
That's awesome.
That's it. That's all I'm going to leave it at.
Okay. It's not. But that's awesome. Quixotic it describes people and ideas that are foolishly impractical, especially as they pursue or relate to pursuit of ideals. So a quixotic person is often known for lofty romantic ideas or extravagantly chivalrous action. Quixotic can also describe things that are unpredictable. Do you want to hear it used in a sentence?
Do it.
Although they lived on opposite ends of the world, they shared quixotic dreams about the future.
Oh, precious.
All right, you have our good news.
This one's pretty cool. FedEx delivers 300,000 free Christmas trees to military families with annual Trees for Troops program. Since 2005, FedEx Freight has supported the Trees for Troops program. So it delivers farm-grown Christmas trees to domestic and international U.S. military bases. It makes it so military people around the world have a Christmas tree for Christmas. And that's awesome. I just liked it because it's Christmas time and that might be hard for them to get a hold of one, you know? And man, prices of Christmas trees has gone up this last year. Well, everything, the price of everything has gone up this last year. So, except for gas.
Merry
gas
Christmas.
Has gone down.
You have to pay a ton. I know, right? I was actually going to come home and be like, honey, did you know that gas went down? But then I thought it always goes down during the winter because not a whole lot of people are driving. Is the theory, I guess. I don't know how true that. I mean, it's winter, so there's.
Wouldn't you drive more?
I don't know. Maybe I told myself that, right? I don't know. There's something about the wintertime, I don't know what it is specifically, that gas goes down. And then the summertime, it jacks up.
Yeah, maybe because people are going on long trips. And during the winter, everybody's pretty much just holes up in their house.
Right?
Yeah.
You're not as inclined to drive anywhere.
Oh, so back to Christmas donating. Christmas tree donating. I was like, how did we get on that?
Christmas trees are expensive, but not for the 3,000. Is it 300,000 free Christmas trees that the military gets.
Yes. So the chair of the Christmas Spirit Foundation Board of Trustees said this program started on a crazy idea and started small. We delivered 4,300 trees to only 5 bases that first year. So that was in 2005.
Yeah, that's small. That sounds large. That's still
pretty big.
I mean, 300,000 is ginormous, but yeah.
So it's hard. And then she continues by saying, it's hard to believe we're now going to exceed 300,000 total trees since we began working with FedEx 19 years ago. Anyway, very cool that they do this.
Very cool.
Thanks FedEx for supporting our troops in this way, and thanks to this program that does it too, because it's great for people even away from their families and stuff, that they get to have a little bit of Christmas cheer. So yay Christmas.
Yay Christmas.
All right, now we are going to talk about children's book recommendations, but we're going to do a Christmas version. So we both thought of like a couple of our favorite Christmas stories that we like, and we'll tell you why we like them. And if you haven't read them, maybe you can pick one of these up. And my voice is going to get higher and higher.
As we go, it's going to be great. That's awesome. So I picked Twas the Night Before Christmas. I think because I just grew up with that book. I don't know if anybody read it to me when I was little, but I don't know. It's just, and it's one that rhymes. I don't know if I've ever said this on here, but I'm a huge fan. I didn't realize this until I had kids, that I really appreciate books that rhyme. That tell a story and they rhyme. So I think that's why this one is my favorite, because it's one of those books that rhyme. I don't mind a book that tells a good, tells a story, of course. That's a little kid's book that doesn't rhyme, but I don't know. There's just something I really appreciate when you read a book that rhymes. It's like so satisfying. And the author like took the time to figure out the best way to put words in a sentence to then rhyme in the next sentence, and like, because it's not easy.
No, there's definitely more effort that has to go into a rhyming book, whereas just an author that writes down what they're thinking.
Yeah, and there's like a rhythm that I usually get into when I'm reading a book that rhymes. And anyway, that's mine. I'm a huge fan of rhyming books.
That's a great one. And then I picked the best Christmas pageant ever. This is a little bit older kids book. I've read it to my boys when they're really little, but it's long and it doesn't have pictures. It's a little chapter book, but you can read it all in one night, so it isn't a long chapter book. It is a story about this kind of poverty-stricken family and how the local congregation church involves them in participating in the Christmas pageant that their little church puts on, and how, because they involved this family, they're better for it. Like all the whole community kind of rallies together and loves each other better. Like at first it's more chaotic and it's awful, but then it kind of all comes together in the end, and everybody's better for it. And I love the message of it. I love the funny things that happen, because there's a lot of funny stuff that happens that these crazy kids do. And it's a fun read. So if you haven't ever tried out that book, I'm sure it's at your local library. Your parents might have it on their bookshelf. So it's a good one. Barbara Robinson is who wrote it. So try it out. Next week, we are going to be doing a movie that has to do with a book. So, since this is our book month, we chose a movie that was a book first and then got created into a movie. And then we'll kind of do comparisons there. But here's the quote if you want to try and guess what movie we're going to be doing. And the quote is, "You're angry when I kiss a man you do love, and angry when I kiss a man you don't. It's very confusing." Okay, now we're to our main segment. We're going to be talking about Elantris.
Elantris.
Or if you say it like Kindy, Elantris.
Yeah. So funny how we both say it differently.
Yeah.
What's your
spoilers
cover look
like? It looks the same.
Is it the same?
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. Yeah.
We got the same book cover. We just compared.
Yeah.
So we're going to give you a little summary-ish of it. We'll talk about what we liked and didn't like about it. Some deep thoughts we have from it or ideas. And then we'll rate it out of 0 to 5 stars. Then we'll tell you if it's mom approved, who will we not let read the book. Mm-hmm. So, Elantris. This is a book by Brandon Sanderson. Elantris is a gigantic, beautiful city that used to house powerful people that have magic abilities. But a curse came upon the land, and now the people, instead of turning into these essentially like gods, become these like undead creatures.
They have really dark, splotchy skin. Their hair falls out, and their skin gets wrinkled.
And they don't have a heartbeat.
Yeah, their heart stops. So they're dead, but they're not dead.
Yeah. So the crown prince of the city right next to Elantris, the city of K, Raoden or how did you pronounce his name?
Raoden.
And he gets put inside the city of Elantris, which is where they kind of store all the people that, would have become gods had the curse not come upon the land. He goes in there the day that his future bride arrives in town. Is it the same day, or the next day? Anyway.
Yeah. Nope. He wakes up in the morning and
then she arrives later.
Yeah. She wasn't supposed to be there till a week later, but she wanted to show up early to get to know him.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm getting too long-winded. So she shows up, and the same day that she shows up and Raoden gets put in the city of Elantris, also this priest arrives from a country to the east of them that's trying to infiltrate their religion into this city of K.
Yeah. He's going to try and convert everybody.
He's trying to convert everybody. Yeah, that's better than infiltrate. Although he is kind of infiltrating because their religion is kind of like
very militant.
It's very militant. And are those all the main bits? Yeah, those are the 3 main stories that you follow is Raoden inside Elantris and Princess Serene in the city of K, kind of trying to thwart the priest, the Gjorn, Harathan, and or Harathan, or however. I'm gonna just pronounce them the way that I do.
It sounds great because who knows?
Yeah. So, and then Harathan's, just trying to convert everybody to prevent bloodshed because he doesn't necessarily like that way of going about converting people, but he'll do it if necessary. So, and then you kind of just follow their stories and see their struggles, and let's get into it. So,
sounds good.
let's just start talking about stuff we liked about it. What did you like, Kindy?
I love I love it when authors give you a break during, like, in the chapters. I'm reading a book where it seems like the chapters are so long and there's no spots where I can like stop reading, because usually I don't have a ton of time to read tons
a huge long chapter
once.
Right.
Yeah, and so when authors break it up to where you've got like, I don't know how to explain the break, where it's either there's a space, you're still in the same chapter, but there's either a space to let you know that it's okay to stop here. Yeah, an extra space, or there's like a little designated doodad that you're like, I know however the author does it, or the people who print the book decide, it's great. I love it. And I know that has nothing to do with the story, but I just wanted to say how appreciative I am of it, because there's a book that I'm reading now. There's hardly any breaks and it drives me crazy. I have to stop like after a sentence into the next paragraph and hope I remember where I ended up. And most of the time I have to reread a sentence to be like, I already read that part, or stop at the top of the page because there is no break and I need to go to bed, or I need to make dinner, or I have a few minutes to read and I have a few minutes and I choose to read. Anyway, long tangent just to say that. But it was so good. It was so well written. I love how Serene and Raiden finally got to spend time together. Even though like the first time it was when she went into Elantris to give out food, and then when she got thrown in there because she was fed poison, and and got to know Raiden and her, and they already clicked before that, thankfully, because for him, all the ladies in his city were boring and superficial, and for her, all the men were wanting a woman who doesn't speak her mind, and
they were intimidated by her.
Yeah, they were intimidated by her. So she reached out to him and then proposed to him, and he's like, okay, yeah, let's do this. And so I loved that part, and kind of this other part, but I loved how they got to spend time together before they were betrayed by that one guy. So they would meet. So Serene would meet with Raiden's people secretively because his dad really sucked at running the kingdom and was running it into the ground. And so there's this one meeting where Raiden has figured out how to disguise himself, and he gets invited to this meeting. He's like this ridiculous person, but Serene finally figures it out, and then they like take a break in a meeting, and they're like standing really close to each other, and she's like, I can't believe it's you. And just the fact that she's like finally found somebody to be affectionate with her, because that's all she's wanted, and she finally is getting to that point. So yeah. That was really long-winded.
You jumped all over the place. Whoa.
I did. Oh my gosh, I sure did.
So one of the things I really like about Brandon Sanderson in the way he writes is like the characters. The characters are so reasonable, even though there's this world is fantastical and magic things happen. The people are like, they feel like real people. And I love when movies do that. I love when books do that. But Raiden, he's just this good guy trying to be a good guy. And yeah, now he's cursed and he's going to live in this city and endure torment for the rest of his days is what he thinks, that I'm going to just exist here until I'm in so much pain that I become pain, essentially. Mm-hmm. Because the thing about this curse is now whenever they get a bump or a scrape, it just hurts for forever. It doesn't stop hurting. And so he got a couple of bumps and scrapes, and his are extremely painful. Come to find out later why, but he's like, this is going to suck, but you know what? I'm going to make the most of it, and I'm going to try and make the most and try to help the people here. And that's what he does, is he's like, how can I make the most of it? How can I help all these people in this city so that we can have a nice city to live in? And so what he does is he takes all these people that are miserable and in pain and hungry and not really getting along with each other, and he gives everybody jobs, and it gives them a will to live. And it's just incredible that he just thought through these things and came up with these plans and just trying to make this city bearable, because they're going to be here for the unforeseen future.
I loved how I love his character because he didn't use his royalty to sway anybody, to like bring them onto his side or be like, listen to me, I know what I'm talking about, I'm the king's son. He just kind of blended in with everybody and was his natural self, and that turned out to be just a natural good leader.
Yes. And the guy that he hangs out with, Galadin, oh, I love him.
Yeah. He's so fun.
He's a fun guy. He's just this side character, but you love him,
Yeah.
And you cheer for how because he's kind of got this negative attitude. He's been here in this Elantris, and he realizes how much this sucks. And Raoden comes in and is all, positive and trying to make things better. And Galadin is like, whatever, dude. Like, this isn't going to happen. He kind of gets tied in with Raoden because Raoden kind of convinces him to hang out with him for a month. And he really grows, they grow in friendship with each other. And they make each other laugh. And he kind of helps Galadin kind of get hope again.
Yeah.
With Serene, I really like her spunk. She is just fantastic. She is, a little bit outspoken, and she's very intelligent. And the first thing she shows up and does is the king kind of like doesn't really care for her at all. So she's like, you know what? I'm going to act a part and act like he thinks that I'm just this airhead girl. I'm going to show him what an airhead girl is. And so everything she does that involves the king for the first, half of the book, she acts like a dimwit because that's what he wants to see. And it lets her be around important things because the king doesn't think that she'll interfere at all or that she won't understand what's going on anyway. So she kind of uses this mask to become a spy, essentially, and get the information she wants. So I really like her abilities to try to figure things out, because that's what she gets there, and her fiance is now her husband because he quote unquote died, and in their marriage contract or whatever, that meant that they're automatically married.
Yeah.
So she's married to him, but she's like, what happened to him? And she's trying to figure things out. And now that she's married into this kingdom, she wants to make it a better place. She wants to improve it and fight against this kingdom that's trying to take over with its religion, Fjord. And she's like, well, we got to fight this, and this is how we're going to do it. to protect her kingdom that's across the sea. They're kind of the last two standing against this Fjordan religion that she doesn't agree with. So she's kind of trying to get a revolution going against this priest that came into town and try to undermine him, and she pulls off a lot of really cool stuff.
And the way she sees it is like, she doesn't know why he's doing it, but she's like, if it's important to him, that's not good. I need to dissuade people around him, or I need to figure out why it's like, there's sometimes where she doesn't even figure out why it's important to him. She just kind of she'll do something to throw him off. Like, he was preaching on top of the wall next to Elantris because one of his goals was to make Elantris people be the bad ones. And then
so that they have a common enemy.
Yeah. So that they have a common enemy. And she said something or asked a question that totally threw that out. And then she also, because her husband died, she was supposed to mourn for him, and they're supposed to do it a certain amount of time and a certain amount of way. And so her idea was to give food to Elantris so that to make them more less mysterious. And then I can't remember other ways that she kind of just threw him off his game and like didn't even, I don't know. But yeah, she was very clever.
Yep. And then Harathan. So Harathan is the big military priest, and he's very factual. He loves the religion because it very makes logical sense. Yeah. And so when he first arrives, there's kind of this fanatical under priest.
Oh, yeah.
And Harathan, he keeps thinking that, oh, yeah, I have the upper hand on this. Oh, and now I figured him out. And you really think, as you're reading along, you're like, yeah, he has figured him out. And now that will take care of him. Because every once in a while, you're like, man, this guy's crazy. And he'll get out of control. But luckily, Harathan's there to keep him in control. But then, like, the next chapter, he's crazier. And you're like, and he keeps like, Dalif. Yeah. He keeps tricking Harathan, and you're like, okay, well, Harathan, that didn't work. You need to do something else to keep this crazy guy under control. And then he does do something else, and you're like, okay, that's gonna work. And then Dalif does something else, and you're like, whoa, that guy's a psycho.
Yeah, it never works. Any attempt he makes, it just never works.
It doesn't end up working. Yeah. And Dalif guy's always one step ahead, and Harathan, he's one step behind Serene too. So yeah,
he's just in trouble all the way around.
Yep. I remembered a page because I was like, ooh, that's such a good line. This is a line that Harathan says to Dalif. He says, you will find that hate can unify people more quickly and more fervently than devotion ever could. And I was like, oh, that's true. And scary. Like,
yeah.
Because hate can just take over really quickly. It's a very quick emotion to go to. Instead of the ponderous, more strong, deliberate emotions.
Yeah, I thought his point, because doesn't he go on? I thought his point was that it doesn't last. It's not as deep. It's not as devoted.
No, he doesn't. Like he doesn't say it right then. He was just making a point to Dalif that he because Delaf was like, we need to destroy all the Elantrians. Like, let's kill them all. And he was like, no, I'm going to use them. Because hate can unify people more quickly. So, he's like, the devotion to our church, to, the things we believe, our religion, that's all well and good, but the hate that they can have toward these people will unify them better. And so he wanted to utilize that. And I just thought that was a very telling line of how logical he was about his religion. Like, he didn't want to get people to necessarily believe. He just wanted to get things to happen on his schedule.
Yeah, well, he had a deadline too.
Yes.
Like when he gets there, the author Brandon Sanderson establishes that he has 3 months to convert everyone
in K.
Or the Jardathans or whatever, I can't remember what it's called, will come and kill them all or convert them by killing some or what have you.
Right.
You find out later it's a different story, but that's what he's there for. So he tries to do it quickly, but less deadly than the last time he tried to convert a nation, which ended in a lot of massacre.
Yes.
Which was the place that Galadin, Raiden's buddy, was from. And so I was shocked. How much do we want to give away?
I don't know. Because I know what part you're going to talk about. And I'm like, All right. So if you're going to read the book, skip ahead a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
I was shocked when Harathan took the poison and then he was put in Elantris. And I thought the poison is going to drive him mad with pain, because before he takes it, he's like, this is my only option at this point, because Delaf has sidestepped him every direction he turned. And so he's like, well, this is all I got. So he takes poison, and then come to find out it was just a concoction that has him turn that way for 5 days. And then he used that to his advantage and was like, oh, look at me, I prayed to my God and he saved me. And
yep.
I was shocked. I was like, what is happening? Yeah. So
yeah, it's so clever.
Yeah, part 3 was intense.
Yes, it was. I really like the way Brandon Sanderson writes from character to character. You kind of follow these 3 stories. He ends them in good spots that when you pick them up again, you're like, oh yeah. But you aren't angry that he stopped where he did, ever.
Yeah.
Because I've had stories where they do hop from character to character, and it's such a cliffhanger that I skip the next couple characters so I can get back to that character to figure out what happens. Oh, it's never like that. He leaves them in a well enough spot that I'm excited to see what happens next, but I'm not anxious, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they're doing stuff. You know that they're doing stuff to make this place better. Or yeah.
Anyway, what were you going to say? What's another thing you like? Or should we get into the dislike parts?
Well, I love the part where Raiden finally figures out what's going on with him and everybody else who goes through this process, and he does the thing that allows the power, the energy to come through, and so they're fully transitioned to be Elantrians. They're glowing, where they're healed quicker, and they're not in pain anymore. So they're fully transitioned, because that there's one point where Raiden is like, there is something wrong. So he's just doing tons of research. And so he finally figures it out. It's a line that's missing, which I'll get into later. But then he goes And I love the scene where he comes, because everybody's been gathered, everybody that's still alive from this attack on this city. They all get rounded up and put in Elantris. All the Elantrians are piled in a pile, and everybody alive is on another side, and they're about to get all burned. So the Elantrians are already on fire, and then the living people are next. And then Raiden just comes in glowing and like does his little wispy thing, and like I was like, yeah! I just love how he saved the townspeople.
He does his aeons, and the Elantrians are all healing and becoming powerful, and
out of the fire. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I thought that was awesome.
Oh, there's so many more things I want to talk about.
Then do it.
I love how her uncle, so Serene has an uncle that lives in K, and he is great. He's just this big guy that loves to cook. Mm-hmm. And we did say spoilers, but here's a spoiler. So if you do want to read it, don't listen to this part. Well, they have a son at home who is an Elantrian. They just kept him home. They didn't let the authorities know. They just keep makeup on him and just let him chill out in his bed, in his room most of the time. And they just kept him. And I loved that they were like, no, you aren't separating our family. You're not throwing our son into this city where we aren't there for him or there to take care of him. And they just kept him home and took care of him there. And I loved that little bit of defiance that was just showed the love of their family.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I do like how in the end, Harathan actually saves Serene's life, because Dylif is this monstrosity of a priest that actually outranks Harathan. But he was playing this part to see if the Harathan could do his job. But he was there to actually enforce, however he wanted to, the takeover of this city. And so he decides that the time is now, and him and his other mutant priests, and they go to Serene's home across the sea, and they're about to, take her dad, the king there, and, take over, essentially. And Harathan stands up for Serene and saves her life, and Raiden shows up and saves her too, and then in the end, Harathan limps up and saves both of them before he just topples over and dies. And so it was like a twist ending, cool. And you're like, whoa, that was cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. I love how it ended. Yeah. It was beautiful.
Yep. It's such a good book. Okay. Now, what are the things you didn't like?
I hated every time Serene tapped her chin. Who does that? Nobody does that. That drove me crazy. Every time he's like, Serene taps her chin and pondering. Oh, it drove me crazy.
I didn't even notice that she tapped her chin at all.
Oh my gosh. It happens too often. It's like, okay, got it. I don't know why it annoyed me. I think because I can't imagine anyone who's the type of character that she is to tap her chin, or not her chin, her cheek. She tapped her cheek in thought. It's very comical. That to me is not a serious person. I think that's why it bugged me, because it was her cheek. Drove me nuts. I hated it. I hated it so bad. I think if I ever read this again, I'm crossing that out because it was that annoying. Anyway, good book other than that.
That's really funny. I do not like Raiden's dad, the king. He is pretty awful of a dude. And at first you just think he thinks women are pointless.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. At first you think he's just kind of a jerk, but then later you find out that he's pretty awful. And yes. I think he became pretty awful because he was scared. But still, he's just kind of this awful guy. So,
yep.
So I don't like him, but I think his part is important in the story. So I wouldn't take him out, but that's something I don't like. So.
Yeah, I thought it was sad how Serene was just trying to find a place to belong and find affection outside of her home. And he gets to the point, Brandon Sanderson, where he depicts it really well, because you really feel sorry for her and you feel her pain, how he writes it, and you're just like, I hope it works out with someone, because then she's about to marry some old guy who's shorter than her, because apparently she's tall.
But I love Royale. He's my favorite.
Yeah. No, he is awesome. He's the old guy. Like for her, it's like, it's not out of love, it's out of necessity.
Right.
And so she's willing to do it because she understands that she's a princess and that's what princesses do. So she like gets the politics of it. But for her, it's like, here we go. This is another, because she got engaged when she was living at, how do you say her home, where she's from? How do you say it?
Tiad.
She got this guy to propose to her, but she felt so bad. She's like, he has no idea, because she was trying to find somebody. And so she kind of wasn't being herself. She was more restrictive in the things that she said and acted. And so she got this guy to propose to her, and she couldn't follow through with it because she couldn't do that to him. And she realized it would just be an awful marriage as well. And so she felt like she was tricking him. So for her, it's like, here's another disappointing marriage. Like, she didn't think that way with Raoden, so she just thought this is another opportunity that, I don't know. Anyway, I just thought it was sad, her love life.
Yeah. It is.
But it made it that much sweeter.
Yeah. And then something else I didn't like is the couple of characters that you really come to love, how they kind of have to be, and I get it, for the story, you can't have everybody live happily ever after, but I love happily ever after stories, and you do get happily ever after things in this story, and it's great, but the people that are sacrificed and die and that sort of thing kind of make me sad. So like Raoden within Elantris has this soldier that, just becomes this very loyal soldier to Raoden and kind of saves him a lot of pain that he could have experienced throughout the rest of, for forever as an Elantrian, like really protects him and really like goes out of his way. Like, none of the people in Elantris had to do what they did, but they believed in Raoden and the things that he was helping do. And it was just so sad when he ended up dying, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
He was a good soldier.
Especially the battle before he was able to die. It was very sad.
So the people that died, I mean, I understand, but it's still, I don't like it.
It is. Right? Yeah. Still sad.
Okay, so is that all your don't likes? Okay.
Yeah.
Now we'll talk about our deep thought or ideas. What do you think are questions that you want to ask?
It was actually the very beginning. There's a part that Galadin says, "To many, an existence of agony is better than no existence at all." And I thought, what would you prefer, no existence or an existence of agony? Right?
What an awful thing. Yeah. I think I'd want to exist. Doesn't that sound awful? I'd rather exist in complete agony. But like to not exist, I guess I wouldn't know any better. I don't know.
I'd pick not exist. I'd be fine with that. I would be totally fine with not existing if I didn't have to feel agony. I'm a pansy when it comes to pain, so hard pass on the agony. I'd be okay not existing.
Kyle tells me I always have too high of a pain threshold, so.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can see that.
He's like, you don't feel pain the way other people feel pain. So the thing I wanted to talk about, it isn't really a question. It's more of something I found out about the book is how Brandon Sanderson came up with the idea of writing this is from he's a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and he on his mission said, well, what if there was like a really fanatical missionary? What would a world like that be like? And he kind of imagined this story from that one idea.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane. That is amazing. Because I can see that with Daloff.
Yeah.
Anyway, however you say his name.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then having a story just be created around him.
Yep.
Because he's not the focal point. It's like Elantris is, and like what happened to it and how it is affecting everybody around it. Yep. There is one thing I didn't like that I forgot to say is, why did Raiden have to draw a line in the ground when the chasm was already there?
No. So the chasm was there in the land. The city of Elantris and the cities surrounding it were like a smaller version of that, of the whole land. So it was like a shrunken down, and then the aeons themselves are even shrunken down. So it's like Inception. The whole land is the representative, and then the cities are representative of the whole land, and then the aeons are representative of that. So because there wasn't the ziggity zig in that city to the, I don't remember, the north?
I don't know.
Of
West or east side.
One of the directions.
Not important. It was not there.
It wasn't there.
Okay.
That represented where the chasm was in the land as a whole.
Okay. That makes sense. I didn't get that. Yep. That's amazing. It amazes me how skilled people can be in their writing.
Oh, isn't it? Oh, I have a hard time reading any books that are fiction after I read Brandon Sanderson, because nothing is as good. I have to like take a break before I read another author, like a month long. I can't read fiction for a month because that gives me long enough to have forgotten how great of a book I just finished.
That is hilarious. Reading it actually reminded me of some other stories that I wanted to read, and one of them is an Orson Scott Card one.
Which one?
And he
Enchantment?
Yes.
I love that one.
I do too.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it is a good one. I haven't read Ender's Game in a long time. I used to read it over and over again.
Yeah, that's
when I was younger, but it's been a long time since I've read it.
Do you know Kyle had never read that book?
What?
And I was like, you haven't read this? So when we got married, I was like, we're reading this. And we started reading it, and we read it a couple nights in a row. And then, one morning I woke up and he was finishing it. And I was like, you read it without me?
That's good.
He was like, I just had to finish.
Yeah. Well, that's funny.
Okay,
anyway.
So one thing I did want to say about this is Elantris was the very first Brandon Sanderson book I read. Mm-hmm. And it was so good that I was like, I have to tell everybody about this book. And I got so many people into Brandon Sanderson after that. I tried telling Kindy about it, but she was resistant. So I finally got her to read one.
I don't know why, because it's so good.
It is.
Although, not gonna lie, I'm so used to like shorter books that are like under 400 pages. So to read this, it got kind of tedious. I was like, can you get to the point, please? But it was good. Like the build up was necessary because you really get to know the characters and like what they're trying to do and how they're doing it. And there's a book that I'm reading now. It's called Fallen. I can't remember who it's by. And I don't even know if I'm halfway through it. And I'm already like, I don't know if I want to finish this.
It's because you have to take a month-long break after reading Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah.
But, okay, so 0 out of 5 stars, Kindy.
5. I'd give it 5.
Nice. It's 5 for me as well. So listeners, go read this book. It's great.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah. Especially if you like fantasy. It's good fantasy.
All right. Who will we not let read this book? Because Mom approved. It is Mom approved. I gave it to Lorenzo last year at Christmas, so when he was 13. Mostly because I was like, before that, he probably wouldn't have read it. So.
For me, I think 15. Just because there were some moments I was like, oh my gosh, that's horrific. And I can't remember those parts right now. I don't know why.
One of them involves Raoden's dad, the king. That's a pretty horrific thing that he does.
Yeah, maybe that's the one I was thinking of because I thought there was another one, but I can't think of the other one. But anyway, yeah, I would say the audiences definitely have to be mature and understand that the world is evil, but that doesn't mean that they have to be. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. They basically have to be okay and not be scarred for life in reading this story. For the couple awful parts that happen.
Yeah, read it first, and then you can decide which kids you want to get into the book. So
yeah. Okay. So our next episode, we are going to talk about the movie The Host. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what Emmeline thought. Because I know how I feel about it, but I kind of have an idea. But I'm excited to get to know the specifics of how you feel about this. And I am not ashamed to spoil it for anyone because you'll find out. Anyway.
We would love to hear from you if you have book recommendations for us, or if you really like Elantris too, or if you don't like it, you can just let us know. We have a Facebook page where we post pictures kind of pertaining to our episode. We have a question that we write that you can answer, so reach out to us there. You can email us, and the links to both of those are on our website, which are listed in our show notes.
Help us grow by telling others about us. Share something you learned with them, like how Kindy draws a blank sometimes when she has nothing to pull from the episode, even though she was present during the whole thing. Oh dear. But we would really like to thank Red Productions for the music and Jonica for the logo, and to our listeners, we really appreciate you.
Toodle pip.
Toodle pip. Okay, so Emmeline is getting more and more confident. Emmeline the younger is getting more and more confident. Which, before I tell this story, there were a couple episodes ago where I was saying that Emmeline the senior would be referred to as Emmeline, and Emmeline the younger would be referred to as Emmy and wouldn't get confused. I did not, however, remember that Emmeline's family calls her Emmy, so that would still be confusing. So we're just going to go with Emmeline's great recommendation of calling her Emmeline the elder and Emmeline the younger. So Emmeline the younger is getting more and more confident in her walking abilities, but she is also exploring how she can move her body. And it's kind of awesome because the first time I saw this, there is this little toy that she has. It's like stuffed, but it's not, because it's also hard. You push the middle and it kind of like has this like super upbeat music to it. And so she was over this thing. She had both hands on the floor and her feet on the floor, and she'll get one leg up and she'll just start kicking it out. And she'll just do like this leg kick. It is the most adorable thing. Oh. Now it's turned into this, I'm going to throw a fit. She'll lay down and she'll kick her leg up. So it's like morphing into different things. And it's just kind of fun to watch her kind of discover these things that her legs and body can do.
Oh, that's so cute.